And as promised, we also have analysis from three respected California political experts: Democratic political consultant Ed Emerson, Tim Rosales, a Republican political consultant, and political data and redistricting expert Paul Mitchell.
Ed Emerson, Tim Rosales joining us now here at the table as we're getting those returns in some races that we know ballot measures, a couple of them decided. So as we sit here at almost 10:07 p.m. on election night with ballots still being counted, Tim, I'll start with you. What are your takeaways so far?
Well, looking at the national picture, I think big wins for Ron DeSantis on the Republican side.
And Marco Rubio. $76 million Val Demings and the Democratic Party put into that.
And I think that's telling. And, you know, the question for the Republican Party moving forward is this the Republican Party of the Ron DeSantis, Marco Rubio Republicans, or is this going to be, you know, setting up for 2024 the party of Trump Republicans? Right. And I think that is going to be the operative question that I think Republicans and also, you know, those who are watching these elections have to deal with. But definitely good results for them. Do
we see the division between DeSantis and Trump starting tonight?
Absolutely.
I mean, Trump already gave him a nickname. He called him Ron DeSanctimonious, so we kind of know where that's going. But Ed, over to you. I mean, overall, state of California, Democrats winning big. I mean, Newsom was called at 8:01 tonight. I think that him and DeSantis can fight over whose race was called quicker, because DeSantis was quick too.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the Dems have a lot to stand up and a lot to be proud of tonight. I think the red wave is a trickle, if anything at all. We may ultimately lose the House, but I think this is the sort of the beginning of the end of Donald Trump as a power broker in American politics. A lot of his folks went down tonight, a lot of his Secretary of State candidates, people he'd been backing, election deniers. I think across the board we're seeing Democrats do well in seats. Wiley Nickel in North Carolina 13 won his seat. That's a big deal. People around the state of California, Josh Harder's doing better than we thought he was going to do. Katie Porter looks like she's going to be fine. I mean, the races, the narrative was dictated by the Republicans. Red wave, we're going to do this, stay home Democrats, you got no chance, abandon all hope, that sort of thing. And it's turned out not to be true. It's turned out to be the Democrats, when we vote, when we go to the polls, we win. And California and the leadership of Gavin Newsom and across the board, Democrats are going to walk away with all the statewide seats once again.
All right, let's talk about a little bit on a broader term of the balance of power. Obviously, there was a lot at stake here. Balance of power was one of the major things. If you're a Republican at this point and you didn't quite do as well as you thought you were going to do, what does that say to the larger scope of the balance of power in terms of statewide and nationally?
Well, I think the U.S. Senate's still an open question. Congress is going to go to the House of Representatives is going to go to the Republicans. I think Nancy Pelosi will be out as Speaker. I think all of those are good. Things I'm seeing across California, there are some contentious races where Republicans are pulling ahead in state legislative races and also on the House side. That's where I think that Republicans have to focus. And again, you know, going back to nationally, what does the party, you know, want to focus on? I think that is. You know, that's going to be key, and a key question that I think Republican leadership has to ask moving forward. That, you know, the red wave, we did see some good results. I mean, Ron Johnson's ahead in Wisconsin. We saw, you know, certainly, you know, Florida, Texas, you know, and some other congressional districts. We'll see what happens in Nevada.
That one's going to be interesting.
Absolutely eager to see what happens between Adam Laxalt and Cortez Masto.
But Arizona was going to be Armageddon for the Democrats.
Mark Kelly.
We were going to get blown out in the governor's race. We win the governor's race. We were going to get blown out in the Senate race. Mark Kelly comes through and wins that race. What happened in Arizona, I think, is going to happen more and more and more, is that people believe that Donald Trump, who holds on to the big lie that he won the election in 2020, you know what? I need realism. I need truth.
Just this quote, I spoke to a Republican leader in the Senate, Scott Wilk, earlier this year, and I asked him about Donald Trump and how it's just sort of taken over the Republican Party. I'm like, what are you telling he's not a Trump guy. And I said, what are you telling your party? What are you telling your people? And he's like, look, I think we just got to wait this guy out. I think we're on the end of this, and we're going to come out and we're going to sort of reset. And you were talking about, you know, the Rubio DeSantis or the Trump side, Carrie Lake side of the Republican Party.
Well, and that's the reset, right? And parties do that
every
so often. Democrats have done the reset, right? When they've had different figures at the head of their party. They've had to kind of check back and, okay, recalibrate. Republicans have to do that. Republicans had to do this, back in the after the 1980s with Reagan. You couldn't sit there and keep sticking with kind of the Reagan revolution of the 1980s. You had to grow. You had to become different. What worked to elect President Trump in 2016 and ultimately led to his defeat in 2020. My sense is that we really do have to put that behind us as a party and start to look forward into the leaders who are going to be the next generation for the party.
All right, guys, thank you so much.